Have with me Dr. Ije Ume. He is the Associate Professor of Economics at Miami University, but he's from Lubbock. So thank you so much for being here with us today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. So like I mentioned, you're from Lubbock, and I kind of heard about your story here in the community, and I want to bring you in because it's great to highlight the wonderful things that folks from Lubbock do across the country, and your story is so inspiring and empowering. I know that a lot of folks will be uplifted by it. So you're from Lubbock, you're a professor right now, but tell me about how you started, how you were raised in Lubbock. I know some of the challenges you faced, we talked about. You had a baby at a young age, right?
Yes, a very young age, yes. So I grew up in East Lubbock, went to Wheatley Elementary, Dunbar Junior High, and then graduated from Estacada High School. So born and raised in Lubbock, Texas. And again, to your point, somewhat of a challenging upbringing. Wasn't the easiest of lifestyles, but having a kid at an early age, 15, definitely sparked something inside of me and changed and sort of shifted my thinking about my future. And that sort of kind of led me in some ways on the path that I ended up taking. My mom was a single mother. She didn't work all that frequently when we were growing up. Part of that was, I think, some mental illnesses that she was facing with and dealing with. She was a single mother of two, and my brother was 2 years older than me. And so he actually was there to provide a lot of the support. Once he was 15, he started to work and started to help to make sure that we had the lights on, to make sure that we had the basics that we needed at the house. And he was very, 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 very helpful for me, being the younger brother, especially going beyond that. When I turned 16, my mom was incarcerated, and so my brother was 18 at the time. And so again, he started to do a lot of the heavy lifting to make sure that I could sort of focus on school and continue to do sports in high school, while he would, essentially support me throughout high school. And at that same time, I started to work once I got into high school during the summers as well as during the weekends, because again, having to support my daughter. So yeah, we both started to work relatively early to try and make ends meet and to support ourselves. So I was fortunate to get a partial football scholarship at Eastern New Mexico.
Okay.
So that was really beneficial.
And what did you major in there?
I ended up majoring in business administration with an emphasis in computer information systems.
Wow.
So I sort of jumped around. I did the medical magnet program at Estacada, so I was thinking I wanted to do medicine, but then that wasn't really feasible when I got to Eastern, so I started to jump around and luckily found business, and I was very fortunate to bump into and to interact with a really fantastic professor who really shaped and guided me and made me start to think about higher education and what I needed to do to get to that next level.
And where from there?
So from there, after that, I went to do a master's in economics. So I sort of shifted gears from computer information systems and got into economics and did a master's in economics at Duke University. So I wanted to take a break. I worked for a couple of years to save a little bit. And then I went back to do the PhD at the University of Alabama.
Well, so fascinating is that you, in your job, which you're in now, you do a lot of research.
Yes.
And we talked about the fact that you've been published, and that's the goal. Doing research as an academic is to have it published in journals and things, and then the goal from there is to be cited by academics across the country, which is something you achieved.
Yes, something that I've achieved. I've had great success in terms of doing research. I've had a lot of fun with doing research. That was one of the real draws to doing the PhD, was the research aspect. I didn't know that I would love the teaching, but I ended up loving the teaching as well. But I always knew that I would like the research. And so I was always passionate about that. So I've done some good research in terms of looking at, I'm a macroeconomist, so I look at the big picture. So I look at things like monetary policy and its effect on the economy, banks and the role that they play in terms of the flow of credit, and then how some of these things could also impact individual behavior, right?
Wow.
So that's sort of the big picture. And like you said, I've had success, and I've published, I think, 9 or 10 journals, and I have a couple of papers that are under review that I hope to get published really soon.
Before we let you go, because we could keep talking, what if you had to craft a message to young folks that are in whatever situation and just think that there's no hope or no light at the end of the tunnel? What would your advice be to those folks? And maybe not even young folks, just folks, because life is hard, sometimes.
That's a great question. Never give up, and never stop believing. Never stop believing. Be optimistic. Be optimistic. You have to be optimistic. Even when things are really challenging and really difficult and you can't see any path forward, doesn't see any light at the end of the tunnel, just remaining optimistic and believing, just having that belief. Because again, if you don't see it, you have to believe it, right? And a lot of times we don't have the social capital. We don't have access to a lot of the things that other people have when you're born, when you're not living, you know, at a certain level, right? So let's just say low income, right? You don't have access to a lot of doctors and lawyers, so you don't get to see all of that. So you got to believe that it's possible, and you just got to keep believing even though it's not there. And also always, you know, emphasize the importance of education and take that seriously.
Dr. Ume, thank you so much for being with us today. So inspiring. I hope that our viewers are able to take some nuggets away from that. But thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. We've got our commercials, but of course, as always, we'll be right back.